Hello and a good afternoon and a warm welcome to everyone to the seventh episode of the Curious Mind series. Firstly, I would like to wish Salamat Hari Raya and Eid Mubarak to all our Muslim friends who are celebrating the festival in this week. And I'm sure Freda and Geetha with me would also wish. I am Vikram, founder of the Curious Mind series, and I'm extremely excited today on a Friday afternoon about a session which is starting now. Till date, we've had some very interesting conversations with individual guests. But guess what? We have upped our game. And as they say, we are extremely glad to have not one, but two seasoned speakers with us who are stalwarts. Let me tell you, stalwarts in their space. So let's welcome, put on your hands together, and welcome Ms. Geetha Kandiah and Ms. Freda Liu to our LinkedIn Live podcast. And we are going to chat on a super exciting topic: who dares wins. And I'm sure you must be wondering, what does this topic enthrall and lead us to? Well, buckle up your seatbelts as we are in for an accelerating ride. Geetha and Freda, I'm extremely honored to have both of you on my Curious Mind series LinkedIn Live podcast. With the Ramadan Eid festivities being celebrated this week, how are you doing in this festive atmosphere? And I would say, technically, a relaxing week at work. So we'll start with you, Geetha. How are you feeling today? How are you doing?
Hi, Vikram. Thank you so much for having me over. How am I feeling? I think when you don't celebrate the festival itself, you kind of get to breathe. So I totally enjoyed it. I just got back from a Langkawi trip with my kids and my brother's family, and nothing like the beach to make you think and make you kind of come up with more ideas and also like take that pause in life. So I'm feeling very good and I'm also very tanned. Told my kids I'm almost the color of my hair. Yeah. Happy to be here and Selamat Hari Raya to all those who are celebrating.
Okay.
Thanks, Geetha. Freda.
So for me, again, you were talking about the show and what to expect, right? And then, I'm also in for a ride. I have no idea what to expect, and I think that's the exciting part. I am very relaxed. I usually take my long holidays during the Ramadan month. Just generally, it's a quieter month. So then, when I come back, I got time to relax before the holidays begin. Because now that we're celebrating this, so I am very happy getting back into the swing of things. And I always say that Malaysia starts working after Raya, right? Because we've had so many holidays. So after this, I think, the nation starts working properly. So happy to be here. And of course, Selamat Hari Raya to all my Muslim friends and everyone who's watching as well.
Thanks, Freda. Thanks, Geetha. I'm extremely glad that I have two speakers on my show who have come back from a break and are extremely fresh physically and in a good mental space. So I'm glad, in holistically speaking. So just to share with the audience, Geetha and Freda are celebrities in their own space, and they are extremely famous within the network, outside the network, and you can look up on their LinkedIn profile to get a much more detail about it. So I'm not going to read their LinkedIn profiles, because if I do, I will end up spending probably the entire 1 hour only talking about all their achievements, all what they do. But I need to summarize, and I will be succinct in my approach. Geetha is an enterprising CEO of KASS International. KASS International is a leading ASEAN intellectual property boutique firm. She, along with being a CEO, she's also a board director, IP and franchisee expert, international speaker, and a corporate strategist. Her specialty is in strategizing with companies of all sizes and industries on how to boost their value and expedite their growth using their IP assets. She regularly shares her expertise on BFM radio channel, Bernama TV, and in the local and foreign publications. Geetha is a highly sought after international speaker who has been invited to speak across the globe on various platforms and forums. And something which I've experienced personally when I've met Geetha, when you meet Geetha on a personal or a professional level, there are three qualities about her, which you will experience. One, motivated. Two, dedicated. And third, she's absolutely results driven. I'm sure, Geetha, if some of your office people are watching this LinkedIn Live podcast, I'm sure they will resonate with the motivated, dedicated, and the results driven part of it. I've been fortunate to have the opportunity of meeting and interacting with Geetha in person. So let's put our hands together and have Geetha on board. Thank you. Thank you. Freda, on the other hand, is a vivacious communicator, a highly sought after professional as a moderator, MC, and a trainer. A writer, she's written more than 5 books, I think the sixth book. A broadcast journalist, seven. There she says seven. Oh God, I'm catching up. A broadcast journalist, as well as an adjunct professor, sharing her knowledge on sustainability, design thinking, and future thinking. She has conducted over 5,000 interviews to date, has written, as she said, almost 7 books, won several awards, and she, in fact, interestingly runs her own channel, The Shift Asia, covering stories on ESG and sustainability. And it's a YouTube channel, it's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's a podcast she runs, and she does it extremely well. She is an expert in the public relations, analyst relations, broadcasting, personal branding, women in business space. Specialties are coaching, media training, MC, moderator, author, speaker, and last but not the least, someone I personally look up to in the speaking and broadcasting space. So, with these two stalwart speakers, and glad to bring them together, it's definitely going to be an interesting conversation over the next 45, 50 minutes or so. And to highlight, so before we start off and me shooting them with the questions, just to highlight to all of you, they both Geeta and Freda have no clue what are the questions which are going to be coming in their array at this point in time. See, both of them are smiling, they have no idea about it. All they know is the topic, and I'm going to shoot them some questions. Now, the interesting part is this also gives you all the opportunity, the audience an opportunity to ask anything. The way you can ask is just comment it on the LinkedIn Live comment section where the show is going on, where the session is going on, and I will put it up there, and Geetha and Freda will be more than happy to answer. So, without further ado, let's get the ball rolling. And if you have any questions, just or comments or anything, keep it engaging, keep it live. Like I've said before in our previous podcast, we can't see you, but we can hear you when you type your comments. So, if you're liking something, you have a question, you want to mention something, just write it up in the comment section. Are you ready, Freda and Geetha?
Mm-hmm.
So it's some competition. Like we have to press some bell.
Who dares wins? Somebody must be thinking, is this a competition between both of them? Oh, no, it is not. So, just to bring a little context for the audience, a lot of us achieve a lot of things in life, and a lot of us probably sit on the fence not achieving a lot of things in life. And the reason to choose this topic was who dares wins is is there a reason that the one who dares actually wins it, or there are people who have not dared and they have won? So this is definitely not a session where we are going to compete Freda and Geetha together, but it's a question where we will go deep dive into a discussion based on their experience and expertise, whether this old saying, and there have been tons of content written on it, who dares wins, really happens or not. So let's start. I'm going to start with you, Freda, first, and Geetha, you can imagine. The first basic essence question, Freda, what comes to your mind and to your heart when I say who dares wins, and what are your thoughts on it? Freda first.
Wow. Okay. I was thinking about this, right? And it's about, I guess, taking a step to do something a little bit different. And when I say who dares wins as well, it could be the littlest things, right? For example, someone who's afraid to dance suddenly take up dancing lessons, right? And in that process, you won confidence, you've won a new skill, you've won something, right? So I think it's just not staying in the comfort zone, but just doing something a little bit different, right? Of course, we always read the books, the person, who dares wins, I've climbed Mount Everest, right? But if that's not your thing, it's not your thing, right? So I think when I say who dares wins is about having the courage to just take the next step to do something that gets you out of the comfort zone, right? I don't know if you've seen that picture, right, where you're so stagnant and you're just wondering what's happening next. But that process of growth requires learning, right? And being able to learn, and there are ways that we can all learn new skills, we can all learn new things, right? So that by making that step forward already, you've gone into a process of growth, right? So at a very simplistic level, that you're just able to move out your comfort zone just that little bit more. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Geetha, what comes to your mind and heart when just the word "who dares" wins when we mention that?
I think it's the whole the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward that comes to mind. And you see it in business and you see it in the world, right? If you take the bigger leap, the risk is so much larger. But if you manage to overcome the obstacles and whatever that's thrown in your face in that leap, you then land in that pot of whatever you want, whatever reward that you're seeking for. And I'm not just talking about business and revenue, I'm talking about sports, trying to get that medal at the end of that marathon, trying to hit your cross country run for teenagers. It's anything. The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. Um, the second thing, I mean, that's the first thing that immediately comes to mind with who dares wins. The second thing that comes to mind is that scares people. Everyone's scared. When you say who dares win, it's like, okay, thank you very much. I will just stay in my comfort zone. I don't want to dare. That win is not so great. I'm happy where I am. And I think when people get that fear and that kind of blocks them from taking any step forward, such big words and such big titles can be scary, and that fear blocks people. So then there is a need to break it down, and people then need to like look at smaller steps. And I guess that's one of the things that we'll be talking about, no? Like how do you overcome that? So yeah, so it's scary. So I think the first one is big risk, reward. Second one, like, oh my God, it's big. I'm not gonna dare. Right. So it's steps makes you take a step back as opposed to making you take a step forward.
You see, I'm just talking about dancing, and then Geetha's really talking about finishing the marathon.
And that is where the synergies lie, and that is exactly the reason I was so keen to bring both of you onto this podcast. Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, my personal view is for somebody who has always tried to dare. I think there have been times I've not kind of gone out of my comfort zone, but I have also seen within my network and with myself as well that when you dare, there are higher chances of winning. You might not win all the time, but your chances of winning in any situation, like Freda put it, it can be as simple as your basic daily thing which you're doing. But the very
Mm.
fact that you're coming out of your comfort zone and you're willing to kind of step out and dare, the chances of winning are higher. And yes, there are tons of rejections which happen. There are tons of times where you also get humiliated. Okay, but this session is not about me sharing, it's about more of you, both of you sharing. Okay, so let's move on. So to the audience, please mention your comment. If you have a question, feel free to type it into the comment section and we'll put it up right there. Otherwise, I'll continue with my flow. We're going to play a little memory game here in the next one. Can both of you give top three examples of people who come to you on top of your mind to your list when we mention who dares wins and why? They can be from a corporate or from a personal life, and we will go alternate. So not all three at one shot. So we will start with you, Geetha, first, and then Freda and Freda and like that. But
Mm.
top three people who come to your mind and why when we say who dares wins. Geetha, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. So the first one that comes to my mind and it's close to my heart is my grandfather, who migrated from south of India to Malaysia. I had the opportunity to go back to the village in 2004 and visit the family that he left behind. So he still had a brother and a sister in India, still in the village. And you kind of look at the environment and the situation and realize that I would be here if my grandfather hadn't migrated to for a better future. And getting into a ship and coming to a land that you don't know of. He left his wife and his 1-year-old son, which was my father, in India to come and check out the scene, see what are the job opportunities, what's the working conditions, and so on. And then when he was settled here, he went back and brought his wife and his child. And I think that's one of the biggest risks that he took. And it was him moving out of the comfort zone. So because he tried to get his brother and sister to come to Malaysia, and they were very happy with life in the village, right? So it takes dedication, motivation, that drive to want to see more and do more for your family. So he's a great role model, and he really comes to my mind a lot. No, his salary. He was a laborer working at the school that my dad was studying at, and had started to save up to buy a cow. From the cow, started having milk and delivering the milk. So he was holding multiple jobs and working crazy hours, and just the way he raised the kids together with my grandmother to make sure they all studied hard and went to university and became the best in their field. I think all of that speaks volumes. So he's one of my greatest role models.
Wow.
Okay,
Okay.
very great.
No.
What an inspiring story, right, Freda? Sorry, you were saying something.
No, no, no. I mean, just that. I mean, I think we think of people who leave their countries, the comforts, right? I mean, my dad was similar in that sense, but I'm not going to give this example here. But he had to leave from wherever to find work, right? He left from Sarawak to go to Brunei to find work, and how your life changes, right? I mean, you talk about your grandfather milking cows, and then to where you are now, right? How a generation, and things have changed. I want to refer to a couple of people, and this is because you put me on the spot. I'm sure there's more, but a couple of years ago, I wrote this book about In Your Skin, and I want to talk about people who were success by their own, in their own, in their space, right? I want to bring up Heidi Kwa, from Refuge for the Refugees. At 18 years old, at college, teaching some refugees, and then starting this whole movement, helping out with refugees. So she started at 18, got awarded by the Queen of England, right, for her work. And then now I think she's like, it's only been 12 years. So she's like early 30s now, but she started this at 18. And, we don't normally, and bringing the plight of the refugees in Malaysia to light, right? So I admire these people. They got their degree. They didn't do your typical corporate job, but what a meaningful purpose, in terms of what she's done. So I've got to give her credit for, I don't know, at 18 years old, I'm not thinking about anybody else but myself, for sure, right?
Absolutely,
To
absolutely.
have that heart to do that, and so that's, I just want to applaud her for that. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, inspirational. Going back to you, Geetha. Um, who's the second on your list? So first is grandfather, very inspiring story. I didn't know about it, but it's really inspiring. Great inspiring story from Freda as well. Who's second on your list?
So second on my list is who I uh, bring up quite a bit with my kids. We do thank you God every night. In the Tamil word, Sami is God. So thank you, Sami, every night. And the intention I do that is really to get them to we are creatures of habits. So to make gratefulness a habit that you don't think about, you literally, it becomes a habit, right? You don't have to think I need to do a grateful journal. So that was the intention. And then in this thank you God, I broke it down to like, thank you for my eyes, thank you for my nose, thank you for my limbs. So I tell them this guy, and you all probably have heard of him, Nick Vujovic.
Yeah.
Don't know whether I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
Wojciech.
Wojciech. You probably might have interviewed him,
Yeah,
Frida.
I did. Yes, I have one of my most memorable interviews. Go.
Well, 5,000 interviews, that's a lot of people that you've met. So, well, yeah, so I'm going to call him Nick because I'm not going to try to pronounce the second name again. If to those who haven't heard about him, he's without limbs, so not he doesn't have arms. I think he has feet. He doesn't have arms and he has feet, but he doesn't have long legs, right? So he has feet, which then means that his toes are then used to brush his teeth because he has feet. So he's able to brush his teeth and he lifts it up and he brushes with his toes. And there's tons of videos on YouTube, and I've shown my kids. So the reason he's such a big inspiration is that all of us, many of us, are able-bodied, and even if we are disabled, it's not as far-fetched and as challenging as him. And yet, he not only survived, he in his autobiography, you read about him wanting to commit suicide many times. And it's a whole like, why me, God? Why me? And he had to turn into the faith. And his parents were a big source of inspiration for him to not take his life because he still had his heart and his mind. And that is huge when you think about all the challenges that we have. I'm not belittling anyone's challenges or obstacles in life because it's always very big and intense for us at that stage of our life, right? But when you put it into perspectives, and he brings a lot of perspective to us, whatever challenge that we face at whatever time in our life. So I resonate a lot, or I get inspired a lot from how he has battled a lot of things in his life and try to then bring it for the kids and myself, in personal and professional, to always remind myself that
Right.
he can do it with that challenges. Why can't I?
Right. We always hear this saying, right? God, please don't give me more. God won't give you any more than you can handle. So I say, God, I can't handle a lot. Please don't give me these kind of issues. Okay, another person that I want to bring up is this girl called Jocelyn Lee. She was formerly in PR, and then after she started the Pit Stop community. Pit Stop community was actually helping the homeless in Chowkit. She did this for I think about 6 to 8 years. She recently had to close it. It was very challenging to do it, but to try to help the homeless work in the cafe and to feed the homeless, and of course, people can come in and eat at the restaurant as well. But to do that again, these people with these huge hearts. I don't think I have that kind of capability, but thank God for people like that who's able to do that. So I just want to applaud her. So we've got people who's helping the refugees, people helping the homeless, right, and bringing up these issues, and not just. And it's great. I think like if you don't have the capacity, if you can support financially, that really makes a lot of difference. But really, sometimes just to get people to work to do this, that takes a lot of courage, right? A lot of courage to do that. So I just want to acknowledge Jocelyn for the work that she's done, although she said it's really really difficult and she had to close it, I think the beginning of this year. Yeah, don't know if you heard
That's
of it.
really sad. It's difficult to sustain this kind of
It
initiatives,
is.
isn't
It
it,
is.
Freda?
It is. Right. So, as much as sometimes, and that's the reality, right? But the fact that she was able to do this for about 6 to 8 years, and the number of people that she's able to help, right? It's not easy. You hear the stories behind the scenes to keep going, to keep going, to keep going. But if you can't sustain yourself mentally, and I think it wasn't just a financial thing, but mentally, it is a very trying thing to do. So, again, just want to applaud these people who we won't hear of in the corporate scene, right? And so are they not successful? I think they are successful. I think they are successful in that sense. So I want to just give them some, acknowledgement.
Very nice, very,
Mm,
very nice, very thoughtful of you, Freda.
mm,
And just to add on to what Geetha was saying, I've read about Nick. I've seen a couple of his YouTube videos, but just I know somebody very close to us in the family who's differently abled. But and every time we go out there, we should be grateful with what we have, because I always believe that. Um, when you are, for example, you're feeling frustrated about something, or you are anxious, or you're not happy with life, imagine there would be somebody else in a hospital bed or somewhere who would be wanting to live your life at any point in time. And then when you think about it, and like, I am not living my life to the fullest, and there's somebody who would love to live my life at that point in time, and that's something which resonates with me very closely. Okay. Third one on your list, Geetha. You've gone from grandfather to Nick. Who's the third one? I'm really curious to know.
there are so many, it feels weird not to talk about my dad because he's such a big inspiration and he, for me, took the biggest
Yes.
risk to start the firm and also to show me there's no glass ceiling, to give me free reins to do as much as I can. Of course, going back to him for coaching and counseling and all of that. So, but I think I've spoken about that many times, and many people also know that he's the founder of the company and naturally also influenced a lot of who I am and where I am right now. So I will not talk about that. Ironically, by already talking about him, I've got four.
You got the third and the fourth. You suddenly pushed in the third one.
Sneaky.
Yeah,
Sorry,
But
dear.
but
So
but
sneaky.
I know Daddy first before I knew Geetha.
that's
Yeah.
true. That's
And
that's true. And she's interviewed both of us together as well in the studio before.
oh really? Oh, is this? I didn't hear that. That's interesting. And I mean, having met Mr. Kandiah before, I will just totally resonate with him. He's an inspiration to an absolutely whole lot of people. You just look up to him. You're like starstruck, like, wow, what a personality kind of thing.
But
So yeah.
because he wasn't mine, can I say my third?
Yes.
So I'll keep it short and
Granted.
sweet. I'll keep it short and sweet. It is actually that identity of an entrepreneur, right? So I get very excited when I meet entrepreneurs, and I'm very fortunate. Similar to Frida in different contexts, she interviews them on such a large scale. I help entrepreneurs protect their ideas, right? So they all come to us excited with new inventions, with new business ideas, expansion plans. And that energy is just, it's so exciting because you have this passion and you want to put it out and you want to put either a product into the market or service into the market, and you want to do good either through your product or your service. The commercial benefits is there, but you're doing something different, and especially if you come to and look at intellectual property, it's always something different and unique. So I would say I'm incredibly like inspired by that entrepreneurial spirit that anyone has, including you, Vikram, and you, Frida, who've all forayed into your own entrepreneurial journeys. That is a lot of courage, that's a lot of guts, and that's willing to constantly be outside of your comfort zone. And I learn a lot when I constantly meet and mingle with entrepreneurs. So that would be my third figure.
Okay. Right.
So
One.
like,
Sorry.
no, go ahead, friend. No, go ahead. One thing you were saying.
You continue. Then I will add my third person.
No, no, no. I was waiting for your thought. Go
Oh,
ahead.
no, but I think like my approach is also when you ask me to put pin down to three, it's very difficult. I always feel that you can always learn from everyone you've met, right? I've learned from Geetha, I've learned from talking to you, Vikram, I've learned from you as well. So I think that's just an important thing to have, just to know that everyone has something to you know, if you choose to learn from everyone you meet, you can, right? If someone is a pain in the backside, you also learn not to be a pain in the backside from this person, right? But the third person I just want to say is a friend of mine, and she's an entrepreneur, and is Annabelle Co Martinen, right? So I met her when she was working for Microsoft, and I interviewed her. Then she quit her job. She's a Filipino Chinese, right? And then she of course went on to start her own business with the largest area superfoods and all that. And she always says, I came, and she says, I started a business in Malaysia. I don't know anyone. I don't speak Malay. And because I come with no baggage, right? I come with no baggage. And, you know, sometimes setting up the restaurant, people are speaking in a dialect that she cannot speak as well. But,
Correct.
and then to have started a business, and I think that gives me hope. Sometimes maybe you, Vikram, you're not from here, but like, for example, we take it for granted, right? These are so difficult because we come with this baggage. And sometimes it's like, hey, if you're in, you know, it seems like a green fields, right? Because you've never experienced it. It's like we take it for granted that sometimes it is
Granted.
possible, and to remove those self-made blinders, right, to start business. So I think that gives me inspiration, like, hey, this person, like, I don't know, I'm just going to try, I'm going to do this, right? Because you have no baggage, and she's done such a fantastic job, and just reminds me that there are opportunities available if we just take away our baggage, our biases, our, you know, we know Malaysians, like, we love to complain now. We love to complain about the government, we love to complain about everything, right? And sometimes be wary of that and how it might stop us in our tracks, because we have this misconception of or what's the word, perception, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
perception of things, right? Because so sometimes maybe we want to just remove that and look at things with fresh eyes. And she's a good reminder to me to just look at things with fresh eyes, in everything we do, right? So yeah, I'll just give her the credit as well. See, I've had three women. Geet has three men.
Fantastic.
So fair.
So I took care of the diversity in a little way, in its own way, and I didn't have to play a big part in it. Thankfully,
Okay.
I don't have to say it. Otherwise, it would have tilted either which way. But really nice. I mean, a big hats off to all the entrepreneurs who are interacting with Geetha purely because I know it is challenging. I'm on that journey myself, but I have learned a lot from Freda. I'm learning a lot from Geetha as well in terms of going on that journey. So great. What we learn from to the audience again. I'm still surprised some of you have no questions or have no comments. If you have any comment or question, please do write it in the comment section. But what we are learning, the bottom line essence of all of this is, in a very simplistic way, is take the first step, initiate, whether it is Joseline's story, whether it is Annabelle's story, whether it is Geetha's grandfather's story, whether it is very subtly put Geetha's father's story. But any story, if you look at it, the essence, bottom line, is get out of your comfort zone.
Right.
Ensure that you are taking that first step, isn't it, Freda?
And not to, I guess, maybe easier to do it when you're not, it's not necessary, you know what I mean? So that don't
Mm.
do it because out of desperation, if possible, right? I mean, I was reading this book. There are many ways where people jump, right? There's the desperate jump where you suddenly lose your job, and then there's different kinds of reason to jump. This is a book by Kim Pirelli, and she talked about jumping, right? So maybe taking small little hops and skips before you make that big jump, rather than suddenly, oops, you've lost your job and then I've got to jump, right? So, little things you can do to build up your courage, to build up your resistance, to build up your whatever, resilience before you need to,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Great. Great. Um, Any questions from the audience? If no, I'm going to go on to another interesting one in the next part of it. Very nice answers, very interesting answers and your inputs, Freda and Geetha. So this one, we'll start with Freda, with you.
Mm,
Both of you, you have dared and you have won in life. You've achieved success over the years. And we'll keep the definition of success aside, but I'm sure you have achieved success over the years. But dare I say that it hasn't been an easy ride for each one of you, and rather an enthralling one, an interesting journey. There are many out there, Freda, who look up to you, Geetha, whether it's in your office or outside in the corporate world. There are many who look up to both of you in your journey till date. Can you share with us which moments you had in your life till date where you had to dare to win and progress ahead? Any specific example you can give and say, I was at this juncture of life, I had to dare to win and move ahead in life. And if you can share on a
okay.
LinkedIn Live format,
All right.
that will be great.
Okay.
Had
Uh,
to.
had to dare. I think everything, a little bit of planning was involved, right? Okay, I was some things that happened. The end of my marriage, that wasn't planned, right? Okay, so I had to dare to live. I had to dare to continue to be strong for my son. I had to dare to do these things, right? So these are things that are not planned. But I think like maybe the career move, leaving from IBM to join BFM. At that time, I was there for 11 years, a very comfortable, cushy job, and I loved it, right? A very good company. So at that point, it was a role that I didn't enjoy, in between. Nothing to do with the people, but this is IBM. You get moved around. I've been moved. IBM means I've been moved. So anyway, and BFM came about, and I thought it was a very interesting proposition to join this organization, but it was at the cost of a 30% pay cut, without the comforts of your medical insurance and all the other benefits that
Perks
come
and
with,
benefits,
yeah,
yeah.
right. So it was like, so and I don't know why, I just felt, and it was not that the BFM now, right? So this is a BFM, the startup, right? Nothing proven, nothing. Why would you want to join this? Why would you want to do this? But I just felt something calling to do, because it wasn't just your regular radio station. It was something that was interactive. It was something that still continued me thinking, and it's something for me to be able to develop and create, right, on the topics that I love. And the decision that I made then was daring, right, to do that. I didn't have to, but I think that if I also probably at that point was crossroads in my life. When you reach a certain age, it's like, is this it? Is this
Mhm.
it? Right? It's comfortable, but is this it? And so I had to move to find out if that was it, right? So I think that was probably the biggest decision that I made, thinking that, and if it didn't work out, I guess I could always go back to a PR job or something at that point, right? But I didn't know whether an opportunity like that would come again. So I think that was probably, the immediate thing. Your sensible thing is, what, 30% pay cut? What are you thinking about? But it was a risk I took, and I'm glad I did it. It opened doors to so many things in life. It opened, I think, more in every day. I look forward to work, because every day I was meeting someone and having a conversation, and I think that was my growth period, right? It's, that period of meeting, the start of the startup scene, and seeing some of these companies that have gone on to list in New York Stock Exchange, right? So to see
Mhm.
that journey, it's been fantastic. So I think, I don't know if I had to, but I had to for my sanity, I guess.
Wow, great example. And again, for the audience, for some of you, she dared and she won. She won. She won. In hindsight, you're quite happy with that, isn't it?
Yeah. In hindsight. But also, I think sometimes you make a decision and you make a decision and you make it right. Yeah.
You have to make it right.
Mm.
Okay. Interesting. I'm not going to go and share my
Yeah.
story right now, but we'll go to Geetha. Geetha, have you come across a similar situation in your life where you were pushed to dare and you had to win and kind of just progress ahead? Whether you won or not, it's an irrespective thing. Like I said, success is very subjective to all of us.
I if I could just jump into Frida's jump, and I think um that's amazing what she did, because IBM, I guess there's certain number of PR and exposure that you have, and then in BFM you have just that many more people and that energy and that spirit, like kind of like the entrepreneur energy I talked about when I get clients coming to into walking into KASS, right? It is the experiences of those people, and those people themselves influence you today, Frida. So I think
Yes, for
it's
sure.
really, yeah, it's
Yeah.
so like I'm a big believer of like who we are today and who we are 5 years from now. It's four things. It's BEPP, easy to remember. So BEPP, and I tell the cast team this as well. B is the books you read.
Mm.
E is the experiences you have. P is the people you meet, and the other P is places you go. And
Ah,
like Frida, straight away, it's experiences and people. Look at that. And how
yeah.
many years at BFM? And now
15. Yeah, 15
see,
years.
15 years, that
Mm.
multiplication. And I'm a broken record with this BEPP, and I use anything I use in the leadership team and in cast with my kids. And funny, just a funny story. Recently, I told my kids that they were so cheeky and mischievous. I'm going to cancel the end of year trip to visit my cousins. And then my youngest, who's 7, says, BEPP. You just took out experiences, you just took out places, and you
Yes.
just took out people.
Ah,
And then I said, well, you have built books. We can read books in December. But yeah, okay, so
Won't work. That won't work.
experience.
back
Yeah, I
to
like that.
my story on where I had to dare. It was, I think, right before the pandemic when we opened the Thailand and the Vietnam office. We scouted for talents and found the right candidates, brought them in for 1 week for training on how to run the office, on the intellectual property part, finance, HR, because that country manager will be running the entire operations there to begin with as we grow the business in that jurisdiction. And at the end of that 1 week, our Vietnamese country manager tendered a resignation 1 week and
Really?
said that if I feel overwhelmed, I don't think I can do this. And then like so the whole team, our KL team, were all prepared for it, and we've already told them that we are expanding, and you motivate the team, and then we hire, and so it was a setback. It was a setback, and then I had to figure out like, what do we do? Do we not proceed with Vietnam or go back to the drawing board and hire someone? Um, and that was an interesting challenge to kind of overcome. And what we did is we just proceeded with Thailand and told the team that Vietnam is happening, but not now. We're going to go back to the drawing board, recruit, and then fly them over for the 1 week of training, and probably take it slower so that it's the right candidate. They know the expectations before they come over. So it was, in that sense, not quitting with Vietnam. We could have just said no go with Vietnam, focus on Thailand because we already had so much on our plate. But
Mm-hmm.
the message that we send to our team when you say something, I think carries a lot of weight. Of course, clients and trust is a given that you must always have that trust with clients. But I think with the team, when you're painting the vision of where we're going with the team, um, that was a pivotal moment to actually say that no, we're going to do it, but just in our own time, right? So we'll slow down the process. So that's um, a setback that I had that we had to do. But I don't know whether it's a dare as much.
No, I think it is.
Mm.
Was your leadership or your kind of your leadership essence was challenged? Were you pushed to the extreme, Geetha, at that particular moment to say, I have to really kind of go out there and do it for my team, for my people?
Yeah, it was in that sense. And also you paint the picture so much, right? So you paint the picture and then you have the setback. It's kind of like you want to launch something and then you like hold it back.
Okay, okay, okay. Great, great. Great examples, both of you. Thank you so much. We are kind of 42 minutes into the live discussion. I didn't even realize.
Ah,
It's again from the audience. I'm just checking if there is any specific question which you would want to ask. It is not coming live to us. I'm just checking on my phone. No, there is not a live question yet. That's fine. So again, Geetha and Freda. So we've taken a little bit of an upward curve here, where we spoke about all the good things about who dares wins. We've spoken about our people we look up to. We have spoken about our own example out here. But there are, and we know there are a lot of people who have died and won in life, and there are upteen examples of that. There are also tons of people who constantly sit on the fence, fearing the consequences and invariably not daring. I'm just on the fence, like Geetha in the initially part you said, just I'm happy in that comfort zone and and not daring. So it'll be great to hear from both of you. Is there a magic pill? So if there is somebody in that audience out there who is still on the fence, is there a magic pill based on your experience towards finding the courage inside us and not fearing of the consequences? And that is the magic pill I would also love to take, because there are times, and I must admit, as vulnerable as I would be, I must admit, I also fear the consequences. I also fear
right.
what will happen. The anxious mind kind of takes over. So, is there something which we can take as based on your experience? I will leave it to you, whoever wants to go first. Magic pill.
The magic pill. There is no magic pill. Let me share a story with you, right? And this is it's a story about a man who saw another man, and he had a dog, and his dog was howling, and he says, "Why is your dog howling?" He said, "He's sitting on a nail," and he says, "Why doesn't he get off the nail? I guess it doesn't hurt enough." Right? So every time I hear that story, I always think to myself, right? In any situation, am I that dog sitting on the nail howling and whining and not getting off the nail, right? So until the pain is enough, then you'll make that move, right? I mean, I've had conversations with people who are in unhappy marriages, unhappy discussions, and this could be like 20 years in a row, right? 20 years, I hear the story, and I just say, tell them, is if you are willing, if you're going to sit in the nail, right, and maybe I don't want to hear you whining anymore. Right, that I mean, the thing is, how long are you going to put up with it, right? And this is something that you have to live with. You have to live with it. If you are happy with the consequences, great. But if you're not, you're going to whinge, you're going to whine. It's going to affect your health. It's going to affect your outlook in life. It's going to, the decisions that you have to make, right? So I mean, the magic pill is really that, right? When you are in a situation where, okay, enough, I don't like to be a whinger, I don't like to be whining, so I just need to get off the nail and move on to do something. So I mean, you have that mental picture. Are you that dog sitting on the nail, just howling and howling and howling and howling, but not getting off that nail, right? So if it doesn't hurt enough, I guess you can keep on whining, but it's gonna affect you physically, mentally, emotionally. It's gonna affect you. So there are gonna be situations where you think about it, right? Where it's time to get off the nail. That's my
Wow.
magic pill. Mm.
That's your magic pill. Very interesting perspective. I'll take that. I think, again, for the audience, that's your magic pill. Imagine yourself being the dog on the nail and you have to get off it. What about you, Geetha? Any magic pill from you?
Okay, so I think it's easier said than done, but we need to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and that needs to start from young for those who are parents and can poke them or put a nail under their bum from what, sorry to use the B word, but yeah, put a nail under their bottoms to make them uncomfortable. It's my story would be um, similar to Frida. I had a need to get out of my marriage, and this was in 2018. And very interesting because getting out or having a difficult marriage and walking out isn't actually easy. And then being the whole single parent thing wasn't easy. And it was in June. I think it happened on 2018. And I was drafting an agreement in August 2018. I remember because I finished drafting it at 2 a.m. And I kind of like having my kids take part in runs that I do so that they are also active and I don't have to cut back on my lifestyle where I like sports. So I was looking at, hey, why don't I sign them up for 5 km? And then a duathlon came about. And this is at 2 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, why don't I sign them for a duathlon? They can actually cycle and run. And then it went into like, why am I signing my kids up for duathlon when I myself have not done a duathlon? So Geetha, you should do it first. These whole voices in your head when you're delirious at 2 a.m. And then naturally in that whole page, there was a triathlon. So I went one step further, thinking, I know how to run, I know how to cycle, I can swim. Let me do a triathlon. And honestly, it was like, okay, let's sign up. It's in October. I have time to train. It's August. I got 2 months. I have 2 months. And all of us have that negative voice, that second voice, right? That second voice was like yelling at me and saying that, what are you thinking about? A triathlon. You're not a triathlete. You've got to be kidding. And then the positive voice comes up and says that, but you got through a divorce. Isn't that like one of the most challenging life experiences? What is a triathlon compared to a divorce? And then I'm laughing now, but really those voices were in my head. And the mouse just went to, I'm signing up. I can get through a divorce. I can get through anything in life, including a triathlon. And that's, I guess, kind of like your magic pill for me because it was like, if you overcome something that's very challenging, then it goes into I can overcome a lot of other challenges because I've shown the ability to get over challenges before. So that became the benchmark. And it is interesting, because woke up the next morning really going, what was I thinking? Why do I make decisions at 2 a.m. when I'm completely exhausted? But until today, I'm so glad I made that decision. Because it then goes into, okay, now how do I achieve this triathlon? I got a swimming coach to better my swimming techniques. I started cycling more often to increase my stamina for cycling. And then I met a whole bunch of people. When you do something new, you meet a whole
Yeah.
different bunch of community. So
Yeah.
now I'm in a cycling community and I regularly cycle, and it becomes a whole different lifestyle, which if I had not clicked yes to that difficult decision, I wouldn't have taken it. And I when I reflected, I'm like, why did I need to go through a divorce, a challenge, to take a bigger step in life, right? And many of us are like this. Sarah Blakely, actually, I think we can learn a lot from the first female
Spec-
billionaire in the US who started Spanx. I like what her dad did with her and her brother when they were young. Her brother is also an entrepreneur, and at the dining table, he asked them, "What did you fail at today?" Well, we always talk about successes, but if you did
Success.
not fail at something today, it means you didn't try something new. So we're so used to always playing safe. That's it. We always
Mhm.
play safe. Do what we know because we'll do it well. But do we ever do what we don't know and figure things out so we kind of get a new skill and do that well as well? It's 2018, I think, was my had to swallow the magic pill, and the magic pill taught me a lot of things.
Thanks, Geetha. I'm really glad you've shared what you've shared because it takes courage to share along with what Fred has also shared, and I'm really glad you've shared it because in the initial part of the discussion we spoke about uh, taking that first step. Now we also spoke about, and there are tons of people who are also listening to this podcast and otherwise also who are always on the fence and they always need that push. They need that push, but somewhere that push comes from somewhere, and then they just jump into it, and then they realize, oh gosh, suddenly things were better. And if you can go through some of the worst experiences of life, and to each their own,
Right.
you tend to say, oh, I'm much more stronger than this, than what I perceive. Which brings me, interestingly, to the last question, and then we'll go into the rapid fire. And the last question then goes into is what is this about the mindset? So we said about taking the first step. We spoke about having the courage. Both of you shared great examples, your personal examples, and I can't be thankful enough. But do we need, how does an individual have a 3x mindset in order to dare and win? We will start with you, Geetha, first, because you shared that, and I'm very keen for you to kind of share how do you transform. So, if it is not only about a push, and we are still not have the courage to take the first step to dare and win and move ahead, what is that mindset we should from pure mindset?
I would thanks, Vikram. I would go back to BEPP. You can't go wrong with BEPP. We all of Frida's 7 books. I've read two of them. It's very inspirational because the people that she interviews and she talks about have gone through challenges. So books you read are very, very important. Autobiographies of people who've gone through tough challenges. It's not your life, but we learn so much from someone else's life, right? So books, experiences, and it doesn't need to be your experiences. You draw experiences from people, from podcasts, from videos like Curious Mind series. It's a lot of material out there, and you can't go wrong drawing experiences from people out there who have overcome many things. People you meet, very important. So having a lot of exposure to various types of people in comfort zone and people out of their comfort zone. And then places, when you keep visiting different places and you see that Malaysia, you have it quite good, other countries might be better, but there are other things going. So you kind of like widen your mindset, you open your mind. And you only can have a very strong mindset when you've unlocked that door that's blinding you from the world. So
Mm.
I feel that you can't change your mindset until like you really explore everything, see things, and keep looking at things from different perspective. Be very perspective driven, angle driven.
Right.
We are literally a dot in this world, in this universe, right? And there's so much of things to learn from. And then we become the 6 people that we are often hanging out with, and
Mm.
that will influence us. So BEPP will influence us immediately. Frida's 15 years and see how she's been impacted. And it's really like it's exposure. And myself, I think I get the drive and the energy from I open my door, I compared my profession to my friend who's a divorce lawyer, and I said, I open my door to excited people. What are you opening your door to?
Very excited people, but not very happy.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah.
okay, so my perspective is first of all, read the book Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck if you want to understand mindset. And I think like reading that book, it was more okay. I don't know what I don't know, right? If
Mhm.
when you have that perspective of I don't know what I don't know, then there's so many things that you realize. Like talking to Geetha, right? I mean, going back to the day when I interviewed Daddy, right? And it's like, what's IP? And then it's like, then we get into this conversation. Okay, then I said, oh, I know what I don't know, right? First is IP. Oh, it means intellectual property, right? Then what does it mean? So that whole conversation of I know what I don't know, and then understanding. Oh, I know a little bit now. I'm still not a practicing, IP person, but at least I get a better understanding. I think that kind of curiosity, that kind of mindset of I don't know what I don't know, conversations I've had with people about bird watching, to whatever, right? Because you don't know what you don't know, and I think that's how you continue to have a curious mindset because there's so many things that you don't know, but when you start talking to people, when you start engaging with people, you hear a different thing, I'm sure if I talk to you, Vikram, like, where are you originally from? I know in India, which part of India? What was it like growing up? What was that part of town like? And I just came back from a holiday in Cape Town, and she was talking about perspectives, right? In a country like Malaysia, we take things for granted, but in South Africa, the last couple of years, they have this thing called load shedding. I have no idea. I talk about sustainability. I don't know what load shedding means. And load shedding actually means that the electricity, maybe it happens in India, right? But it doesn't happen
Yeah.
here, right? So the
Yeah.
the, the electricity is sort of loaded between the whole country, and how that affects
Correct.
productivity and manufacturing and all that. And I was like, wow, I said, this happens here. Right. So I learned something about energy, but at the same time, I take it, wow, I appreciate Malaysia a lot more, right? We don't have
Yeah.
electricity for 10 minutes. This is hell in Malaysia, right? So things like that, right? And your BPP lah, when you go to places, you learn new things, right? You learn new things, and you take back things where we can improve as a person, as a country, but things that we're also good at, and we appreciate what we've got as well. So I don't know what I don't know. It's probably a great perspective when you meet everyone, right? Yeah.
So I'm definitely taking home BEPP today, Geetha,
Mm.
and I don't know what I don't know is another mindset shift, which I'm going to personally take, and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience will also take it through. Megha has asked a question, Geetha, but surprisingly, it's not coming up. Oh, let me check. Does it
Probably not
come
on
onto the
LinkedIn.
comments? Yeah, probably not. I mean, she's written on LinkedIn, but it's not popping up here, so I can't stream it. But the question is, and this is to both of you, or either of you, do early life experiences and behavioral traits influence the ability to dare?
Okay, I'll take this first. Thanks, Mega. Okay, I've got three other older siblings. We all have the same upbringing. We're all so different. I know we're talking about the nature nurture thing, right? So a lot of that is nurture what we've got, but my personality, my each of my siblings are so different. I am so driven compared to them, right? And then my sister, we are close, we can talk, but we have just gone in different paths. She's a homemaker, happy with that. It, but it has made a difference to me. But I think it's hard to say, right? I left. They finished their education in Brunei. I had to leave halfway and then learn. Well, when I left when I was 14 to go back to Sarawak, right? And to me, it's a whole new country because that's not where I was born and all that. And that forced me to grow up. That forced me to make new friends. So I don't know because of that whether that has an impact on me. I don't know. But so you can say that life experiences does affect you, but at the same time, it didn't seem to matter to my siblings. So it's hard to say, right? I think it's also personality. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Freda. Geetha, your thoughts on it?
I think it's both. I think it's both, whether it's inherent, right? It's whether it's, are you inherently born with entrepreneurial traits or are you not? Um, Being Indian, which is ironic because I get a lot more astrology advice from my Muslim friend. Uh, and she's pointed out so much in how much our numbers and our astrology in the month that you're born in and your sun that you're born in and your rising sun, the traits that you show are very much resonant with what you do, right? So that sometimes is that inherent trait and that entrepreneurial drive that Freda said, that she's more driven than her siblings. It's inherent. I think a lot of things are inherent. Having said that, even when it's not inherent and you are raised in a surrounding where everyone's very entrepreneurial, everyone's always talking about the new business risk they're taking or new business venture and how they're failing here and succeeding in different places, the learnings. And the greatest example I can give is the Chinese community. The Chinese
Mm.
community, why is it that an average Chinese person um, would have most probably dabbled into business, would have taken risk compared to an average Indian or an average Malay? And I'm bringing these three races because Malaysia has these three as their main races,
Mm.
for watching from global countries, from different countries, but it's a very distinct trait. And we can't say they are all inherent, right? It's
Right.
intrinsic in them to be entrepreneurial. No, it's not.
Right.
So I would say it's both, actually. It's really both that plays a part. And the person that goes very far up is inherent and surrounded, which then comes to surround yourself with people that are entrepreneurial. Because if you
Mm.
are inherent and you're surrounding yourself, you
Yeah.
will go high and achieving the purpose and impact that you want to achieve in life. So, yeah, it's both for
Fantastic.
me.
No, thanks, Geetha. I mean, I'll keep it short, but I'm a personal believer of your environment plays a very important role on how you grow up or what you achieve in life. Okay, we are on the hour. It's been absolutely interesting, and at least I personally didn't realize we are on the hour. But there is a very interesting part of a rapid fire question, which has got nothing to do with who dares wins, and this is me daring, and hopefully I come out as the winner because I'm going to ask both of you the same five questions, and they're going to be in a rapid fire mode, and you have to quickly answer. They're going to be
Phew.
easy, and probably the answers of that your people in your network or people in your office, Geetha, might not know about you. So it's going to be interesting. Nothing controversial. I've tried to keep it extremely simple, purely in the best interest of being in a LinkedIn Live professional format. Okay, I am both of you ready?
Ready.
Who wants to go first with the first question?
I will.
Okay, Freda, both of you have extensively traveled across the globe. Which is that one country, Freda, which is on top of your wish list as of today, and you haven't traveled as yet?
Antarctica.
Antarctica. Okay,
It's not a
2025 or
country.
2024?
2025.
2025. Thumbs up to you, Geetha. Same question. Which is the country on top of your wish list?
Argentina.
Argentina. Both starting with A.
Hey, go with me, Antarctica, because you have to go through Argentina. Okay, anyway, we'll talk later. We'll talk later.
I am ensuring this virtual meeting eventually goes into a face-to-face coffee or
And
dinner chat.
BEPT. So we hang out with the people.
Okay, sorted. All right. Next.
Okay, and interesting. Okay, I'm glad that I dared to ask the first question. The second one, we'll go with the same flow, Freda. So, one of the most adventurous things you have done in life, and now when you look back, it's hard to believe. How did I dare do that?
I think writing the first book.
Huh? Okay. And when you look back and said, you really think, how did I even go that path, right?
Right. I mean, it was then of course, yeah, I believe so. And finishing the one marathon, enough. That's it. But that's it. I'm not going to
Nice.
do
Geetha
other
is
stuff.
thinking, come on, Geetha, what is that one thing? You look back and
I
you
think it's
hard to
that
believe.
story that I shared, the triathlon.
Triathlon. Okay, okay, interesting. Easy question. Favorite movie or Netflix series you've recently watched or you're binging on? You're like really favorite. I love it.
I've just finished because I didn't watch it in the 90s. Sex of the City. I
Ah,
never watched.
okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
I never watched it in the 90s.
It's like a lot of people who have not watched Friends. Um, and they're like, oh, really? There is something like this which exists. And like, really? Yeah, there is. There is.
I'm so
Okay,
glad she watched
interesting.
it before you died. I'm glad you did that. Okay, so mine is a limited series about Spotify. I don't know whether anyone's watched it, but
Ah,
the story behind Spotify, I think they call it playlist.
ooh.
So it's
Yes,
about how it
yes,
came up in Sweden and how it was an entrepreneur who had his mindset on creating something and actually he kept failing. He
yeah.
kept failing and then he created Spotify and look at where it is today. It's called Playlist on Netflix.
Yeah.
There you go.
It,
It's on my list. I mean, it's on my playlist now. Is it on Netflix? I've not seen it. I've not.
playlist is
I
on
think
your
we
playlist.
need I think we need to put BEPPN.
And
Netflix also. What do you watch on Netflix?
Okay, I'm going to keep that in mind. Playlist. Okay, watch that. Fourth question. What is the most exclusive cuisine or exclusive, whatever is the right word for it, you've had in your life till date? You look back and say, wow, that was exclusive. That was exclusive cuisine I've ever tasted.
exclusive. Oh, different. Okay, I mean, I've been to. You've been to your Michelin star out of the country. I think the most unusual for me was going to Kazakhstan and having a horse steak. That was kind of unique. Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Geetha is laughing her guts out. Okay.
Right. So I definitely can't beat that, and I don't want to beat that.
It's okay.
Mine would be in a safari in Africa,
Yeah.
and I can't even remember what it was. I know that over time they banned a lot of this wild meat, but I
Ah,
really can't remember what it was. Whether it was a wildebeest or like giraffe or something that was there, but the brain has like blocked out what it was. But
okay.
it and then
Zebra.
they've gone
Zebra.
to
Hmm.
possibly yeah.
But zebra is
Um,
is red for meat, by the way. Seeing that, yeah. Anyway, go on.
Okay.
so
But it's
yeah,
like
one of
horse,
those.
like it's like horse and zebra, like just
It is like, oh.
it's like it's same
She's giving
family.
you the same feel, Geetha. She's giving
I
you the
know,
same
right?
feel.
So it's one of those things that you look at the plate and you're just like, oh, do I really want to eat this? And I can't believe
Mm,
people eat this kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. 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 Last rapid fire question. If we were to roll back in years and it doesn't happen, it only happens in a movie called Flash or some of the other movie, which is that one thing you would have done differently and why?
Wow. I don't think um no, I don't think I do anything differently.
Fair
It is
enough.
what it
Excellent.
is.
What I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
On my end, I lost someone very dear to the team in April last year. So I think I wish I said like words because I didn't know how much he meant to me personally. So for me, it would have been good to have said like I love you as a friend.
Mm,
And I've been doing that more in the office, I realized. You do it a lot in the personal context and kind of
right.
not bring emotions into play at the workplace. And I think I'm more conscious about stuff like that, to be kind of like expressive to people that really matter.
Mm.
That
So
touches
yeah.
your heart. We
And I
could see
think
that.
Vikram, you know him as well. So Vikram, yeah. So he was with us for 10 years and then he passed away in April last year. So it's been exactly a year. But those kind of
Wow.
things, I guess you just learn and reflect to be more expressive because anything can happen anytime.
Right.
All I
Yeah. So
would
that's
say is based on the same person, and he was quite close to us as well. Yeah, if you have a feeling for someone, say it to that person. Don't hold on to it for you never know. That might be the last moment you meet that person. We don't know.
yeah.
Life is very unpredictable. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
my last words to him was, get off LinkedIn. He was still he was trying to recruit
Wow.
someone on a Saturday or Sunday. And I was like, can you not be working on the weekend? Get off LinkedIn. I think those were my last words to him.
Wow.
Well, in a
Yeah,
year, interestingly, how you look at it, Geetha, we're speaking about him on a LinkedIn Live, and
Yeah.
it's
yeah, yeah.
okay. Okay, so that can
I
kind of
didn't mean to end it with that. I'm sorry.
no. No, emotions are very true. They are what they are, and that's what makes us human beings. Unless the way Elon Musk is coming up with robots, life would be very different in a few years from now, especially for our children. So, yeah, emotions should be there. I'm a big believer in that. But just to kind of quickly wrap up, one Pro Max, I'm using the Apple iPhone thing. One Pro Max tip for the audience. You've given a lot of invaluable tips, both Freda, yourself, and Geetha. But one last tip you would want to give on the topic covering on who dares wins, and just to summarize from your side.
Wow. Oh, geez. Let Geetha start first.
Did I push you both
Okay,
into
so
a
mine
corner with that?
mine is to never forget how wildly capable you are. To
Mm,
believe in yourself. That's the first step, to really believe in yourself.
okay.
Fantastic.
To believe in yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. Every day, every year, do something that just gets you a comfort zone. It doesn't have to be a major step, but just little steps, right? And it just makes you feel alive. It makes you grow. Yeah, just do that.
Okay, so believe in yourself, get out of your comfort zone, and with those awesome, invaluable inputs, it was really an engaging discussion. A heartfelt thanks to you, Geetha and Freda, for honoring me and coming on my show. I couldn't be thankful enough. And I'm sure the audience which heard, I know there were quite a few of you who attended, and you're watching us live right now. Really, thank you for listening to us and our thoughts. I have personally gained a lot from this session, which I'll carry along with BEPP at this point in time. But one last request to the audience attending this: do give your feedback. It matters a lot to us, whether it is positive, whether it is constructive, or when. And if you can write one comment about what you have gained from this session today, listening to Freda and to Geetha, that would be really great. So from my end, parting words. Freda, you want to say any parting words on a Friday evening of long weekend, and just a goodbye from Freda?
Monday, you back to work.
Monday back to work. Geetha, any parting words on a Friday evening? I know it is almost evening in Malaysia now.
Time to sit back, chill, and enjoy because you no point working so hard and not celebrating. So celebrate your week.
Okay,
All
with
right.
those parting words, we just want to thank you all once again for attending this LinkedIn Live podcast and wishing you a beautiful Friday evening and a great weekend ahead. Thank you. Bye bye from Freda, Geetha, and myself. Thanks, everyone.